the best grooming products for you. Yes, all natural and handcrafted too. We wanna help be your swagger, your style, class, and luxury. We make our products tailor-made for you with high quality. Yeah. So get in style with the black, yeah. Grooming company. Give you swagger, style, class, and luxury. In luxury, yeah. The black gentleman, yeah. Company. Give you swagger, style, class, and luxury. In luxury, yeah.
Located at www.theblackgent.com. Yo. What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Welcoming you to Nerds on Culture with Stormybman for this Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. And this is number 108 in the episodes of Nerds shows. And we're calling this night's outing White Man's Burden, the film from 1995 that was a unique take on, I guess you could call it, the experience of minority in American culture. This film is not highly recommended. It is not something that is often talked about in open circles, though the stars that line the cast are prominent faces and names that you know from the industry. The idea to come up with a concept like this was actually jarring to culture. I recall how I was introduced to this production, and I'll go into that. But I want to bring my co-host and partner in crime of the show in with me on this subject for tonight. We got the brother Drew Titan in the building with us, and the brother is gonna keep his camera off this evening, and he's still here with us, and he's gonna speak his piece on this interesting film. What's going on with you, Drew? What's happening?
We're here front and center, man. Salute to you. Salute to the chat. Yeah. The lights are bright this evening. I'm having a little episode. I'm just like a little under the weather. The weather done changed. It's like 20 degrees. So I said, let me just keep the lights off. You know, there's no pep talk tonight. So after this, I'm gonna go call it a night. But you know, we here. You know, and we help each other out, and we here. And I don't miss the nerd show. If I could help it, I don't miss it, because this is the show where we get to relax, kick our feet up, and discuss our entertainment. And this is actually relaxing. Instead of talking about the soap opera we call boxing. So here we are. Let's get busy. Let's do this.
Yeah. How did you happen upon this film?
Interesting. Graduated high school in 94. Started college in 95. And I was in school, and one of the professors was talking about it. And of all professors, it was an art teacher who used to draw the Blue Beetle for DC Comics. He was my art teacher in college. It's a black fella. I forget his name, but he drew Blue Beetle. And he asked me, have I ever seen that? We got into, after class, we had gotten into a discussion of race. There was something going on in 1995 that made the news, and I can't recall. So we just got to talking after class, and he asked, have we seen this movie? And I said, no, I haven't seen it. And he recommended. And this, at the time, I believe this was in the theaters at the time. And I didn't see it in the theaters. I was dating a chick and she, the bootleg VCR, she had it on bootleg and I watched it at her house. And it was one of those movies where it's like, oh my goodness, man, what if? What if? And it's like, to me, this was not a film. It was more for, I was a lot younger at the time, but, how could I say it? As Black people in this country, as Black Americans, you always have thought this at some point, man. If they only knew what it was really like, we could say it. They can say they identify with it, with us and what we go through, but they need to feel it. When we say they, we mean white people. If they only knew. And in this movie, the world is as you know it, but the roles were reversed. And some brothers that I spoke to, like the older brothers at the time, they said that it was refreshing to see. Before for a little bit, you kind of like understand the plot and it makes you a little bit uncomfortable. But I think it's a must watch for white people that just think that we just sit back and complain and make excuses, man. Just watch that film. And it's fantasy, but it's like, man, and like I said, you get a little uncomfortable watching certain things, man. But it's like, man, reverse the roles back to norm. It normalizes. If you reverse the roles, it's like, oh yeah, Black, he's going through that. But now there's another movie that we need to discuss too down the road, by the way. It's a movie called Cracker. Have you heard of it, Stormy?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's rough. I haven't watched all of it, but it's rough. And it's along these same lines, and it's an interesting story. And it's another thing that's rough. But in this instance, it was, white people dealing with slavery on the level that Black people dealt with it. That's all I'll say about that. But this movie is one of those movies. And Harry Belafonte did his thing, John Travolta did his thing, but it was epic. It's not that long. What is it, like about 2 hours or so?
This movie, it's 90 minutes. I watched it again last night.
Yeah.
I watched it again just to refresh in myself. And what's interesting is the impact that it had on me last night as I watched it. There were some scenes that were written with sarcasm.
Yeah.
And I understood it immediately, but I was not amused by any of the circumstances that how the film unfolded. And I think John Travolta was cast on purpose because his way of acting invokes a bit of a sarcastic or sarcasm in how he comes across, whether he's in a very serious role or a comedic role or finding himself somewhere in between. And the reason that I feel that was done by design is because he is that way and gives off that. It was deliberate as to not make the alternate society in this instance feel the real guilt that's supposed to be felt. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right. It's clever casting.
Yes. Absolutely. But you have to be of a certain elevated mindset to even be able to take this piece of reality in. And the wonderful educator, Jane Elliott, spoke of these type of things for a long time. She's the elder now Caucasian woman whom you may have seen on videos. A lot of them are on YouTube, little shorts and stuff. She has short white hair, and she talks to students, and she's given lectures.
She has glasses. I know who you're talking about.
Yes,
Yeah,
and she has spoken about how many of you understand that this country has a problem with race. And she'll say, let me see a show of hands. And students raise their hands. They said, how many of you have either directly or indirectly been involved in situations where racial relations, or there may have been some type of situation where someone was made to feel slighted or discriminated against or whatever? Students raise their hands. And then they said, now, when we're talking about this, we're basically talking about white and black in America. We're not talking about other ethnicities who have come into the country that may be considered under the quote of minority, but we're just going to talk white and black. And she said, why? She said, how many of you acknowledge that you've seen, witnessed, heard, whatever? And many other students raised their hands. And then she said, how many of you would be willing to switch sides to see what the experience would be like?
Right, right.
Nobody raised their hand. She said, that right there, your lack of response or involvement shows more about what you realize about this country. Now, why aren't you out here being proactive and doing something about it? If the conditions are bad enough that you yourself are not willing to flip sides to experience it, to be able to be more relatable, why aren't you doing something about the injustices?
That's right.
The very first time I heard this woman speak, I admired her. Because she gave a sense of understanding from a third eye point of view. She's an educator, but when I say third eye point of view in relation to what we're talking about here, she's making you think about something and have your feeling for it, and pointing out the fact that you don't want to do anything about having that feeling.
Right.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's 93 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
But she has been around a long time, of course. But just imagine some of what she's had to endure just because she's spoken about these things. Very, very interesting. And there's no one that I have seen on the horizon looking to pick up that baton.
There's this other fella. Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. Maybe the chat can help me. It's a white fella with a beard, and he's on that same type of time.
Is he?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I haven't been introduced to him. So if you have his name, if someone has his name, I would like them to share it so I can look into him.
I've seen him on Fox Network. I've seen him on MSNBC. I've seen him a whole bunch of clips on Instagram. I forget this gentleman's name, but he knows the whole history and he breaks it down to a science. And he isn't as hard nosed as her, because she's the one that did look, Champion Heart said it, the blue-eyed and brown-eyed experiment. Yeah, she started that. He hasn't done things on that edge, but he's also an educator, and he knows it. Tim Wise, that's his name.
Okay, Tim Wise. Okay.
That's him. He's on that same type of time, and we appreciate stuff like that. We really do. Tim Wise is his name. He might have an Instagram. I'm gonna put his name in Instagram in a second. But He knows his stuff. And getting back to her for a second, she's the one that I heard say racism starts with the world map. And I said, what is she talking about? She said the continent of Africa on the world map that we grew up seeing. She said, haven't you heard that they said you could fit the United States 3 times in the continent of Africa? And I said, yeah. And I look at the world map as it's drawn.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you can't put the United States in there 3 times. And then I actually saw how the continent of Africa looks from a satellite. My God, it's not what we've seen in the classrooms. That world map, no. The continent is way bigger than that. So when she said that, I said, wow, I never thought of that. So, you know, she's really on it. She's really on it, man. And this guy, Tim Wise, I'm gonna put his name in the search engine on Instagram. And if he's on the gram, what I'll do, Stormy, is I will send you his Instagram. Yep, he's here. Here he is. Here he is, Tim Wise, official. This is him. Yeah, the man is sharp. The man is very sharp. The man is very sharp. I just sent his page to your DM.
Okay.
Yeah. Anti-racism educator, author, critical race theorist. Yeah. And I think he's on YouTube.
Okay, I just pulled him up on
Yep.
Google, yeah. But getting back to the film, White Man's Burden. The film was produced in 1990. Well, it was produced in
Get your hand off! Take your sticking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
I hit the damn soundboard by accident. Jesus Christ. I turned it off. My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was saying that the film was produced in 1995 or released in 1995, December 1st. It's a 90-minute film, actually 89 minutes, and filmed and shot with a budget of $7 million. It brought in a whopping $9 million at the box.
Yeah, they did well.
But what was interesting about that is this. The movie is an American drama about racism set in an alternative America where the social construct and economic positions of Black people and white people are reversed.
Right.
The film was written and directed by Desmond Nakano. The film revolves around a character by the name of Louis Pinnock, played by John Travolta, a white factory worker who kidnaps Thaddeus Thomas, played by Harry Belafonte, a Black factory owner, for firing Pinnock over a perceived slight.
Yep.
The film's title is a well-known phrase inspired by the famous poem of the same title by Rudyard Kipling. I had looked into that as well, that poem, White Man's Burden. What's interesting is this. This is never going to be outside of the likes of Tim Wise or Jane Elliott and people like ourselves. This is never going to be something that's recommended, a flavor of the month.
Right.
But I suggest anyone with an open mind and a strong spirit to take this film in. Because when you watch it, something seems off.
Yeah.
Now, that might seem like an obvious statement, but it's not. And I'm going to pose the question to you, Drew, and to the chat. Do you know why I would say that something seems off?
In reference to
when you watch this movie and you see it becomes obvious after a while when you're watching it what's happening here, that as I read, the alternative reality is that the races and their places in society have been swapped. They've been flipped.
Right.
But what do you think is off about it when you're watching it?
Honestly, I haven't watched the film in a couple of decades, but from what I remember, like I said earlier, I got kind of uncomfortable. You know, you get uncomfortable for obvious reasons.
Right.
This is gonna sound strange, but I still remember watching it and saying, you know, there's certain scenes in that, well, not scenes, but you know, we still get treated worse. You know, if the roles are reversed in what happens in the film, I don't want to give the film away.
Right.
Well, we still get treated worse. It wouldn't have drug out that long. There was just certain things you see that, and I'm like,
okay,
you know,
well, see, now let me say this. You hit the nail on the head. I said, even though you understand what you're seeing, something still seems off.
Right.
In other words, even though the roles are flipped and it's playing out before you and you're watching it on film, what you just said is still not as bad as the reality.
Right.
It's amazing. And you know why that is? It's because we still have been conditioned.
Yeah.
The conditioning belies in how we receive the information and data. White people wouldn't go see this film.
That's right.
And those who did may have found themselves curious people who learn from the likes of Jane Elliott and Tim Wise and what they represent. Those who may have had an experience of growing up of like what we've covered in past shows, where the community is a little more diverse and you live next door to certain individuals, and your experience in growing up and going to school and everything seems to be though it be separated, but it's a cohesive at the same time experience because it's your reality. Being conditioned to know that this is not the way it really is speaks volumes about how harsh it really is. And just like when Jane Elliott is asking subjects in her lectures, who would want to trade places? And nobody raised their hand.
Some of those people that it's so frustrating, man, because we're talking about 1995. And from 1995 until right now, when we're doing this show, there have been several things that's happened that are beyond Rodney King. Beyond Rodney King.
Yes.
And you look back and you say, I remember having these conversations, you know, in school. The issue of race came up, and you're like walking a fine line. And of all people, we got into a debate with the guy was from Ghana, And Stormy, I wanted to strangle this guy, man. I really did. I considered not coming back to the classroom because I just didn't like that guy after that day. Some skinny, long neck dude that looked like he could jog 20 miles. And he's sitting in the classroom and we're talking about what we deal with as African Americans, and we was going around the room and we got to him, him with that damn accent. Honestly, I think you African Americans, you make excuse for everything. I'm like, whoa. There's certain things that you can say that I'll agree with, but what he was doing, he was painting all African Americans with a broad brush.
Right.
And I said, look, you know you're no better than us. You came here because there's something going on in Ghana that wasn't working out, which is why you're here. And you sound like these white folk. Now, true, there's African Americans that, let's just call them monkeys. And we try to distance ourselves from the monkeys. But you, Mr. Ghana, you don't reserve the right to talk how you're talking, man. Because all the black men that you refer to or whatever, you're sitting right here in the classroom and none of us meet that criteria that says drives you crazy. What are you talking about? So now you mean that when we're in here solving math equations and things of that nature, this is shocking to you? What you got to understand is that the bad black people are the ones we're at war against because we acknowledge them and we distance ourselves from that. Just like there's white people that are not racist and they distance themselves from guys like the Klan and the neo-Nazis and stuff. Just like there's Italian people that say, I have Italian friends and they can't stand mob movies. They can't stand them because it sets them back. And they're like, that's not who we are. It was a part of our culture, but that's not who we are. You understand what I'm talking about? So I'm talking to this fool, and it was just ugly. It was just ugly. He had a preconceived notion about black Americans before he even set foot on our soil. You criticizing our work ethic, whatever you were told. That's not me. You understand? And that was 1995, man. The Rodney King incident happened when? Wasn't that 93, 94? That was 94, I think. Yeah. That was 94. And that happened. And this fool was in there talking about how he was a drug addict. And I'm like, wait. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? I don't care if he sniffed crack early that day or smoked it or whatever they do. That has nothing to do with how he got his ass whooped. What are we talking about? Stay on topic. And you saying you don't think it's that bad or whatever, we making excuses and say, man, you the blackest person. You were the color of my black Timberland boots that I had just bought that year. I said, you go ahead and walk down the same block. We both getting jumped on. I said, if you ever walked through back then, Bensonhurst, he wasn't here for the Yusuf Hawkins and where Paulie Malignaggi's from. In Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, the Italian neighborhood, Sicilian neighborhood. Yusuf Hawkins was over there dealing with a girl and they jumped him and chased him in the street and he got hit by a car, something like that. And I said, young man, you wasn't there for that. Well, he was my classmate, but I said, bro, you wasn't here for none of that. You just got to this country 2 years ago. You understand? So he's a part of the problem. And I said, what you're exhibiting is self-hate. That's what it is, because you're here, you're black. No white person. In fact, you're worse off because you're from the motherland. So that's like a double negative. You're here, they're going to assume that you're on a visa, you're eating up the food, and you're taking away opportunities that were for Americans. When you say Americans, you think of what? White people. That's what they think of. So now you over here, you have a preconceived notion because of some things you saw on television. Some things you saw on television about us, and now you're here with your nose stuck in the air like you better than us. And that's a problem in itself. And there was Africans thinking that way. There was Jamaicans thinking that way. And there were Haitians. I said, all you niggas come from these weird ass countries, but you're here. And newsflash, not everyone is like how they were portrayed. You're looking at us like how white people look at us. So getting back to this movie, I understand the message, but to me, it wasn't hard enough. Because you can't put Listen, that movie Cracker, watch it, and I'm gonna watch it, and they get down and dirty from what I understand. They get down and dirty. No white person will ever know the black man's burden. You can hear about it, and what we go through is completely disregarded. They tell us you'll get over slavery. They don't want us talking about it in school. You know what they did in Texas? They said Africans migrated to America for a better way of life. Oh, you mean slavery? You don't want to talk. Tell a Jewish person to forget about the Holocaust. You'll be canceled out of your socks. And then they want to take your money and make you give lectures. And y'all know who I'm talking about. Kyrie Irving had to donate money and sit with the elders in the Jewish community, and they were to cancel him out of the NBA. That's what we go through. And he didn't even do anything. So this movie, although I understand the point, and again, white people, they didn't flock to the theaters to see this. This was light, and they don't want to know the truth. They want to tell us, get over it, get over it, get over it, get over it. We're dealing with wars on multiple fronts, in-house self-hatred in our community, laziness in our community. There is that. N-words that don't want to do anything, but they get the spotlight shined on them, and other people from other countries have a preconceived notion of what Black Americans really are. And then now we're fighting with our own women because they got us all messed up. So it's really hard being a black man in America. It's really difficult. What movie's going to capture that? And this is 1995, all the way to 2024. You find me one white person that says we're making it up and we're over exaggerating. You ask them, okay, you want to walk a day in my shoes? One day, they're going to be like, no. They could be broke and in a trailer park, and their yearly income would be $15,000 a year. You ask them if they want to be black for one day, they wouldn't do it. Because they know at any time they can get shot by police or anything else. This is disgusting. So I appreciate the efforts of the movie. But like you said, Stormy, there's a little bit missing. There's a little bit missing. You know, I'm going to give a shout out to the brother D'Artagnan 8 in that Cash App. Much love. He said, salute to the mighty LDBC. This was from earlier, man. I appreciate you. Salute.
I want to acknowledge the brother Eric Jordan out there for the Cash App that he sent for me. And he says, for a phenomenal topic on Nerds on Culture. Thank you, Eric Jordan, one of my strongest supporters, and I appreciate you tuning in and also acknowledging the significance of tonight's subject. You know,
salute,
Drew,
Eric, Cash App. Salute, thank you.
You know, Drew and I, we do this show, and our intent is to always entertain and have fun. But along the way, we learn and also pass on life's lessons and also experiences that some may be foreign to, as well as others may have been so involved, it's as if we're breathing their lifeline. So again, it's another important reason why a show like this is what we do. And with all of that in mind, it's a part of our culture. And right. We're not avoiding that. We're not shying away from it. We're experiencing it and sharing because that's the reality. Right. Now, getting back to the film, John Travolta is playing this character who, again, as I stated earlier, worked at a factory and everything, but he, from a citizens class, he's from a lower class existence in this film. And as we stated, the roles are reversed. Everyone that's white, Caucasian in this film are living through a supposed experience that black people in our reality every day are experiencing. So, and everyone black is in a position that you see in your everyday walks of our real society position and experience, meaning like when you turn on television, most of the actors and actresses on TV or in a movie or on advertisements or whatever may be black. And the wealthy and affluent are primarily black. Police enforcement and how they go about it is different from our reality as portrayed in the film. Travolta's character has a run-in with the law for doing nothing.
Yep.
And one of his famous quotes in the film is, "I fit the description," when they decided to take their aggression out on him. And I say aggression because they beat him up for no reason. He seemed to live in a community that was lower class, as I stated, poor, and everyone looked like him in that community. The affluent people drove Bentleys, they jogged, they walked their dogs and everything, and they were all black. It's a jarring experience. And to that notion, I'm going to read you about the reception of this film, the critical response to this film. It says that this film gained a negative reception from critics. It holds a 24% rating on Rotten Tomatoes based on 33 reviews. Understand that number, 33. What do you associate 33 with?
33?
Yeah. Masonic.
Here we go. Let's get it. Let's get it.
33 reviews. Audiences surveyed by CinemaScore gave the film a grade of a C on a scale of A+ to F. A D score was awarded to the film by Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly. Stephen Holden of the New York Times wrote, "Were it not for John Travolta's big-hearted portrayal of an unemployed white factory worker driven to commit a desperate act, the film would be an emotionally frozen exercise in cautious high-mindedness." Wow.
Ooh.
That gentleman, Stephen Holden of the New York Times, wrote that review without a single word of acknowledgement of what the film's experience was supposed to convey to the audiences. You see, when I said something was off, it's because even the very critics who were reviewing this subject couldn't relate to the alternate, which was explained in the description of the film, alternate reality of this existence.
Yeah.
So that would be like a critic named Steven Jackson writing about this film and saying that Harry Belafonte and the other cast members that were aligned with him, like Margaret Avery, who played his wife, are not acknowledged for their class in acting, and that they were shades, I'm choosing my words, above everyone else in the film. You catch that?
Yes.
So what I just did and what I stated was countering Mr. Stephen Holden, his review, because he reviewed it from the position of a Caucasian man in America. I just gave you a vision of the perspective of it being an alternate. What I said about Steven Jackson, and presented it as such. And speaking of, I didn't speak of Travolta, I spoke of Harry Belafonte.
That's right.
Now, when you see the comparison and the contrast, what you are forced to deal with is your feeling that is experienced behind hearing both reviewed.
Right.
You see? That's what the film was supposed to do. Rolling Stone's Peter Travers accused the film of spiraling into tragedy, but never into stirring drama. Wow. How shallow, huh? How shallow?
These are the same. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you know what I believe? And I still to this day, because it's only been 33 reviews, I guess they stopped it at that, right? That number on purpose. But I guess the experience was at the time of the film's release, people couldn't relate. Just as Marvel didn't feel it was important to recast T'Challa.
Yep.
For what? Wakanda don't exist anyway. Neither does Iron Man.
Neither does Asgard.
You see?
The fine difference between when we celebrated a black hero in Black Panther, and we appreciated the work put in, and it did phenomenally well. I remember looking at the news and people laughing, oh my God, what are they doing? Wakanda doesn't even exist. And I'm like, wow, may the 4th be with you. Wow, there's still Star Trek conventions in every city. Wow, I've seen people dressing up in cosplay. These are doctors and lawyers going to comic book conventions in cosplay, having lightsaber battles, dressing like Mr. Spock for Star Trek. What's that new thing? Game of Thrones. Running around like the characters from Game of Thrones. In the 90s, let me tell you, when The Sopranos was on TV, there's an Italian neighborhood not too far from where I live. And I would drive up that block, and The Sopranos had the Italian swag on full blast. You should have saw the Italians of a certain age. When the weather got nice, they were all sitting in front of their buildings smoking their cigars. I said, they weren't doing this a month ago. When The Sopranos hit the airwaves, me and my boy would drive through that hood and be like, look at them. Tony Soprano got a feel in themselves. But that was okay. That was okay. But as soon as we have something, it's a problem. They cut it down. So I understand. I get it. The difference is, and I want the audience to understand, Boomerang, starring Eddie Murphy, was a great film with an all-black cast. It was a who's who in that film. And Harlem Nights. But let's stick to Boomerang. That got such harsh and horrible reviews.
Well, I think later that year or the next year, he came back with Distinguished Gentleman, where he was back to the clowny Eddie Murphy, smiling and shucking and jiving, and the reviews were through the roof. Oh, Eddie Murphy is back. This is who we love. What was the matter with Boomerang? It had story, it had comedy, and we identify with everybody on that screen. But Distinguished Gentleman got better reviews than Boomerang. Get out my face. And this is why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Never forget.
Yeah. And see, even now, I mentioned that I watched this film last night, and I kept thinking about how Travolta's character was putting himself in deeper and deeper water. However, as you stated earlier, it wasn't as much peril as it would be in real life for the black man.
It wasn't harsh enough.
And somehow that's not right. It's not right. Now I'll go into how I heard about this film. Oprah Winfrey had the cast, the main cast members on her show. Belafonte, Travolta, Margaret Avery, and Kelly Lynch. They were all on Oprah's show. And I don't even know how I ended up seeing that episode, but it was meant for me to see it because it pressed me to go see this film.
Right.
And in Chicago, when this film played, it played at what we call fine arts theaters. Those are the little small movie houses. Salute to the General. I see you out there at 78. What's happening? General, if you'd like to join us in our conversation on this, I could send you a link, bro. This is a very prominent film. People need to see this film. It's important to have a discussion on this film. But I saw it on Oprah, and just happened to tune into it, and they were talking about it, and I was like, oh, okay, what is this? And I heard what they said, and I heard what they said it was about. And as they were talking as a panel, on Oprah's show, I was like, this premise seems quite interesting, that they would make a movie like this, because they didn't give it. General, I sent you a link if you'd like to join us. They didn't outright say what the premise is and everything, but they were talking about what it's like to be on the other side of things. And they were doing it clean because it was Oprah's show, right?
Right.
And Harry Belafonte was like, he was a bit I won't say emotional, but he was, because of his experience in Hollywood. He's been around, he's passed on now, but he had been around for so many years. The film Carmen, which he was very famous for being in there. Listen, the way he spoke of it, I was like, I gotta check this out. But when I went to see it, I was like, whoa. And as I said, it played at fine arts theaters here in locally in the Chi. And fine arts theaters are like the little independent film houses where short run films and independent films will play. And sometimes you'll have to check the theater guide or even, a special section of the movie section of newspapers to even know that these films are playing in these film houses, unless you frequent them, which at that time I did. The subject was amazing to me. And though as we're talking about it tonight, is still solidly not as impactful as it should be. Because if you don't feel something, then you may be too far gone.
Right.
And that's a scary thing. Those who are very dismissive of this film and its subject and content, they are too far gone, and that's scary. But it's important because people like Tim Wise and Jane Elliott, they are keeping the sensories alert, aware. There's so much to gain from this. I'm watching this movie last night and I'm not feeling good watching it. It's like, it didn't offend me or nothing, but I'm just like, because I know what's happening for real, and I know how it's being portrayed cinematically in a role reverse scenario or alternate universe, so to speak, and they're still not being as harsh as the reality is.
Right. Yeah. I agree. It wasn't as harsh. And I was, do you give him an E for effort, or was there any effort? Or they just doing it just to do it? You know what I mean?
Well, when I went and looked at the credits for the film, this film was directed by Desmond Nakano. He's a Japanese man.
Mm.
And right now he's 71 years of age. When he directed this film, he actually wrote the screenplay as well as directed it. But he was not really a prominent director or whatever. I believe that they had many directors who probably passed on this. Because of the subject and the lack of wanting to be associated with something like this.
Yeah.
And I told you why I believe Travolta was selected.
Yeah.
But again, when you start looking at things like that, then you could see that they weren't putting their best foot forward because they didn't want to stir the pot, so to speak. They didn't want to rough any waves. Now think about this. I don't know where Mr. Nakano is from. Like I said, he's of Japanese descent. He was born in 1953, but he's an American.
Right.
He's a third generation Japanese American. There is no way that man can tell the experience of conflict between white and black in America. No way.
So why is he telling this story? It's fantasy for him?
Exactly. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like,
Absolutely.
That's probably why the finished product didn't really take root. I probably would have rather seen Melvin Van Peebles direct this film.
Right.
Huh?
Right.
Yeah.
It would have made more sense. Amazing.
But to have a discussion about it, this is still, and I'm not crapping on anybody. But what I am doing is I'm trying to appeal to our audience and let them know the significance of things. It's like, if you haven't seen this film, please watch it. We can always recommend a song and dance. We can always something of a silly nature. But rare do we feed one another with something that is not going to be pleasant to the palate, but to be edifying and you to be made better as a result of the experience. This film still accomplishes that to me. But again, you have to go into it with a sense of elevation. You can't go into this with your mind down below.
It's a very you see, it's topics like this, in my opinion, that will if man, I can't I know, see, people, a lot of people don't understand. Like, the monkey videos I do on my channel, and I make it to make light because, sometimes you got to keep a joke, because if you don't keep a joke, it gets annoying. But the fact that I have to make videos like that and mean what I say, that's annoying in itself. And I get annoyed with the internal wars. Like I was talking to you about in college, the long neck African dude from Ghana that pretty much thought he was better than every Black American sitting right there in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we really, I had to really like stop myself, because I didn't want to display, because I was a lot younger back then. I didn't want to be the N-word with the hard ER that he labeled me to be. And back then I looked the part. I had long dreads and everything else. And I'm like, bro, it's not what you think. And if you think that just any safer walking down a street of Bensonhurst in Brooklyn, you're actually worse off, because you are N-word with the hard ER from the continent of Africa. So they definitely don't want you. They don't want you around, right? But you watch this movie, that's not displayed. The movie's not long enough. It was just a white guy in a community, and I guess it was middle class, and he was a middle class, like a middle class Black man just going through everyday life. But I wanted to know more watching this film. Do they have in-house like wars? Like how Chris Rock said, there's a war between Black people and the ERs, the hard ERs. There's a war.
Well, see, they touched on it lightly before he ended up losing his job, and then they lost their residence. They lived next door to what was an element relatable to the hard ERs. Those guys were playing heavy metal music. They had a rabbit dog in the yard that was barking at him all the time and trying to go after his kid and everything. And those guys just sat around drinking beer and playing their loud music and everything. And they looked like a bunch of good for nothings. And they were right next door to him. See, that's what that was, but it was too subtle.
It was too subtle. That's my point. It was very subtle. You have to connect the dots. Now, a young kid watching that's going to go over their head. And that's what I'm saying. That the movie's only 90 minutes long. They needed emphasis. You needed about a 20-minute.
Now, the heavy metal music took the place of rap music.
Rap music. Oh, yeah.
Because remember when that stuff came out, that heavy metal, you remember in the white community, that was like, turn that mess off. You know, it was like, you know, that's what. But what was interesting is when his wife and his son went to go live with her sister, and he was supposed to be trying to get things straightened out. When the son was outside playing and he talked to his dad on the phone, because his wife told him he had a bad day, the little boy, he got into it and whatnot, and he put him on the phone. He's talking to him on the phone. Hey, little dude, how you doing? Whatever. He's like, yo, Dad. He's like, I heard you was fighting. He was like, yeah, it wasn't my fault. I didn't start it. He said, well, what happened? He's like, I was outside, and these guys just came up to me, and they asked me who I was and where I was from, and then they start fighting me. Now, I laughed at that scene because who are you and where you from? If you black, you've heard that before.
Yeah. You make one wrong turn.
And when he had a birthday and his dad asked him, what you want for your birthday? And he said he wanted a superhero action figure. And so his dad was like, okay, I'll take you to the store and get him. So he picked up the black superhero. I want this one. Mm-hmm. And he was like, no, why don't you get the other one over there? You know, the white one. And he was like, no, this is Boomerman. I like Boomerman, you know. And because that's who's on TV, that's who get the cartoons and everything, the black superhero. Again, Superman, anyone? Right. You see what I'm saying? This they put it in there, but it was subtle. And I believe that it was not, I believe this film, and I've been holding back on trying to say it, that when it was released, people didn't like it because it was unrelatable. Because for white folks, that's not their experience. And it's not even, if you're trying to say fantasy or whatever, they especially when you putting blacks in authoritative situations over them.
Oh yeah.
And being the cops and beating them up and stuff. It's like, man, this is bull crap. You know what I mean?
They don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with that.
No. But this was, again, it could have served with a preface, a preface going in, maybe a short 3 or 4 minute explanation, the film that you're about to see. You know, because like when Rod Sterling used to do the night, was it the what do you call it? Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
You needed.
There was actually the Twilight Zone episode when they brought it back in the 80s. There was an episode where a white guy slowly began to turn into a black guy because of something that he did.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I saw that recently. I saw that episode.
Wow. I'm putting something in a private chat for you. That's that movie. If we could find it. Derek Gaines wants to know, where can he see White Man's Burden? I'm not sure. Like if it's on Netflix or any place, I'm not sure. Hulu somewhere.
Yeah, you may want to try to Google it, Derek Gaines. It's not, and believe me, if they can bury it, they will.
Yeah.
It's simply, you know, like that.
The fact that John Travolta is in that film is probably the only reason why you'll find it. Because he's like an A-lister, but that's probably why. The link I put in the private chat is explaining that movie Cracker. And if you can find it, I have to find it and watch it, because I watched some of it. And I was watching it late and I fell asleep and I forgot why I was looking on that damn thing. But that movie's rough. That movie's rough.
Mm.
Yeah. But of course, you know, I guess we can appreciate the effort, but there was a lot of things that they missed in White Man's Burden. Nah, there's a lot. There's only so much you can explain in a 90-minute film.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the reason why you brought up directors, you need to put people involved in situations in movies like this that can relate. The Japanese fella, you know, again, I give him an E for effort, but how would a Japanese person feel if someone did a movie about the aftermath of the Hiroshima bombing, and there's people around like, well, that's not entirely accurate, you know, and then you find out it was a black guy, and it's like, well, what does he know about what we went through with this thing? They dropped a damn bomb on us, and we had birth defects for like 30, 40 years after that. You know, come on. You know, so we need to do films like this. Put it like this. Spike Lee does this film. It's a different outcome. And Hollywood hates him. That's why he's independent. They hate him, but he'd have hit the nail on the head with this. Did you see, what was the movie he did? Bamboozled.
Yeah.
You ever watch that? Holy cow. Was that ending not crazy?
Yeah.
But my gosh, in it, you know what? We got to talk about that film, man. Bamboozled, that ending was...
Who was asking how they could see this film?
Derek Gaines.
Derek, you can go on Amazon, and Amazon has this film. It says where I'm looking at it, only one left in stock. It's like $29 actually on DVD. No, $21 on DVD, excuse me. Yeah, $21.
It's not on the stream service. That's amazing.
It's not on streaming. But again, see, they don't want a film like this. They're not looking to promote that. That's not what they want to promote. But they'll show you some man who want to dress up in a dress and everything, and, you know, put on lipstick with a full beard and everything. Huh? More hair on his arms than I got on my face. They want you to see that. Huh?
Crazy stuff, man.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just you got to know what's being portrayed out here. Salute to Cameron Fields out there. I see you out there. How you doing, Cameron?
Salute to everybody in the chat. Jason Allen, I see you guys. Toby, Champion Heart, always supporting. Salute to you guys, man. For real.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like when they re-released, remember when they redid Roots?
Yeah.
One of the things I didn't appreciate, I didn't get through the whole thing. They tried to humanize the slave masters. There was always that one slave master. I forgot the guy. He was like, "Well, should we be treating them like this?" No. Out of here, man. None of those guys. I don't believe any of those guys felt like that.
No.
The real thing, the closest thing. Let me tell you, Stormy. I saw Amistad in the theater, and I haven't left the theater so enraged. I mean, god damn, you know the scene, bro, when they had to lighten the goddamn load and they chained them up and sent them into the ocean. I was so mad. I was raging. You know, there were people crying in the theater at that scene.
Yeah.
You know, entire bloodlines were lost in that damn ocean.
Yep.
They said we gotta lighten the load, and they just literally put them in chains and threw them. Man, I was so mad when I left that goddamn. And you gotta understand, I may have seen that. Hold on a second. Let me see something.
97. I had it out with that African dude before this movie came out. And I thought of him while sitting in the goddamn theater. And I said, that mother effer, you know what I mean? Because the reality, man, and I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but the reality is not all of us was sold. Not all of us was kidnapped. Some of us was sold and given away. That's the reality.
Some of us did the selling.
Yeah. Those dudes from Europe didn't come up on there and then start chasing us around and kidnapping us. They did that in some places, but then there was some villages they came across. They was like, yeah, there's too many of these ERs. We got to negotiate. And we're going to trade. And, you know, they said, okay, well, this guy works for me. So why don't you give us this new seed? And what are those things running off your boat? Oh, those are rats. Don't worry. They're just going to come here and die. So won't you give us some of your gunpowder or this, and that? And I'll just give you this guy because he's paying off a debt. Next thing you know, he's on a goddamn boat. He got a whole family in Africa, but he's on a boat now. Going to a land he never heard of. And if you're lucky, you make it there. Did you see the map of how they packed us in like sardines?
Yeah.
Defecating on ourselves. On the ocean. This ain't no cruise line. This ain't the Love Boat, man. In the ocean for weeks. And then they told me we can't feed them all. We got to lighten the load. Throw them overboard. There were bloodlines lost in the ocean.
And the sharks and the wildlife in the sea followed the boats because of the stench.
Yes.
And because of the waste.
Right.
And they, you know, eventually they were able to dine on the subjects that were cast away. So, yeah.
And see, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. And some of us were sold. So I'm looking at this dude from Ghana in here, and I said, for all I know, you probably sold somebody, your bloodline probably sold somebody's ancestors right here in this damn classroom. What are you talking about, dude? Brown skin because of you. Bloodline diluted because of you. We don't know. We have no knowledge of self. We're the most diluted people. That's why you got blacks in Cuba, you got blacks in Canada, blacks in America, blacks in the UK, blacks in Ireland, blacks in Mexico. We're everywhere. We're
everywhere.
Come on, bro. Come on now. So I was enraged. Man. Because when I saw it, I'm a start of the movie, I thought of that dude. I said, man, oh boy. I ain't gonna say what I wished on him, but he was just an ignorant buffoon. I wanted to punch him in the face. But whatever. Dumbass.
Yeah, and salute to Toby Smith out there because he also brought up eBay. The film can be found on eBay as well, White Man's Burden. So it can even be found maybe cheaper. Excuse me, cheaper on eBay. So go for it, you know, if you get a chance to get it. But you do need to experience this film.
Absolutely.
You need to experience it.
There was a famous, I don't want to say famous, but he was a slave owner, man. He was a slave owner. I forgot his name. He was one of the main people on the continent that sold us. He worked with the Europeans, man. Forget his name. I was going to do a pep talk on him.
No, Black Martial Arts Society put his name in there, King Haffern.
Oh, wait, hold on. That's one of them. There was another guy, though. That's one of them. King Haffern. Yeah, there's another guy. Oh, Tipu Tip? Black Martial Arts Society. Is it Tipu Tip? That's his name? The Legend of Tipu Tip. That was going to be my show. I was doing research on him. Tipu, T-I-P-P-U, T-I-P. Tipu Tip. We do it to ourselves. That was going to be the name of the show. We do it to ourselves. Google it. Tipu Tip.
was like, yo, Tipu Tip. He was a slave trader. Wikipedia him. He died in 1905, for Pete's sake. His real name was Hamad ibn Muhammad. Born in 1837, born in Tanzania. Oh my God, bro. Oh my, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And you see, getting back to the monkey videos, I hate the fact that I have to do it. But when I tell you everything we're talking about here is symbolic, bro. You see why I don't like these dudes on YouTube around us? You see that?
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. Tipu tip ass niggas. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, I don't want them around me. I don't. Y'all wonder why I'm so rough with Tank Davis behaving like he is? This is what I'm talking about. So when you look at this movie, A White Man's Burden, what me and Stormy is saying, nice try, but they didn't capture the essence of the root problem. We didn't see enough of the burden. We didn't see enough of it. It missed. I understand what they're trying to do, but it missed. Appreciate the effort. It's directed by a Japanese American. You get cast John Travolta, and you get Harry Belafonte in a 90-minute film, and there was so many other things that we could have pointed out. I would like to have seen in that alternate universe, why were the white people not the main power in America or in the world? What happened? Man, so much. But please get this movie and look at it. Y'all, you see what I'm talking about. Y'all see what I'm talking about. But that movie Cracker from 2020, yeah, interested in that. It looks a little more rough. But yeah, there it is. The Himani tribe in Africa was very instrumental in capturing other African tribes. Yeah, bro. Those dudes ain't come from Europe by themselves and round us up like that. Africa's a big place. You think that those dudes with a caravan or whatever it was on those boats of 100 men goes up in a village and there's 500 Africans there. They're like, oh no, we ain't bum rushing this. We gotta negotiate. That's the reality of it. So when I see Amistad sitting in my damn classroom degrading black folk in America, I'm not having that, bro. But anyway, I don't want to go off on a tangent, man. It is what it is.
Yeah. I think now is a good time to hear from our sponsor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's let it rip from my man, the Focus Ball.
Get ready to take your striking game to the next level with the Focus Ball. Dramatically improved footwork, timing, head movement, hand-eye coordination, reflex, and overall fight IQ. It's lightweight and extremely portable, so you can train every time, everywhere. When you don't have a coach to do mitt work, get a Focus Ball. When you don't have a heavy bag to hit, get a Focus Ball. When you don't have a sparring partner, get yourself a Focus Ball. And when you just want to have fun punching and kicking, get a Focus Ball. When you train with the Focus Ball, you train your eyes and your brain to read punches so that you can hit and not get hit, making this very simple device a must-have for all combat sports athletes and enthusiasts alike. So if you want to take your striking game to the next level, don't wait. Get the Focus Ball now.
Yeah, get you some of that merchandise, man. We got Focus Ball out there doing this thing, and also you got both of the Stormybman items from Streamlabs as well as A Weapons. The links are in the description box. We're gonna get a final word from my brother Drew Titan about tonight's show. Your final thoughts on this subject that we brought for him tonight, Drew?
Slam dunk as usual, man. I love being here, man. We get to kick our feet up. You know, the subject of race is always aggravating because we go through it, we deal with it. Unfortunately, it's a reality and what we deal with, you know. But we've been dealing with it, and as a black man in this world, we've grown accustomed to dealing with it, whereas others do not, to a degree. But love the show, man. Can't wait to see what we're doing next week. No pep talk tonight. I'm taking my behind the bed, and I'll be talking this boxing in the AM, man. So salute to you, Stormy. Slam dunk as usual, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and we had spoken about doing a show on this particular film and subject, and a while back, actually, when we first entertained the thought of it. So we finally got around to it. When we do what we do, it's with a necessary point of reference. I mean, you can always do a little something silly and fun and laughing and whatever, but to bring something home to give people something to think about, something that can really sometimes ignite a spark of interest to a degree of what someone may not have known or experienced. So that's a very positive thing. So I'm glad to have been a part of that, and I'm glad to be a part of what we do on a regular basis, because it is very important that we be able to bring something outside of the box, so to speak, or thinking outside of the grid, that kind of thing. So, and there'll be more to come. I mean, we haven't even crack the surface.
Right.
Because the culture that we've experienced here within these United States, man, it's something.
Yeah.
It is something. So whether you're talking about literature, you're talking about films, which we do a lot of films, you're talking about television, music, it's important.
Very.
There may come a time when you're not able to read the literature that we're so fortunate and blessed with, or even listen to the songs and music.
There's a movie about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a movie about that with Michael B. Jordan. It's on Netflix. I forget the name of it, but I watched it and I was amazed.
There's another film about it that came and preceded a few years earlier. It came shortly after The Matrix, and it starred Christian Bale and Ty Diggs. Equilibrium.
Yeah. Equilibrium. Yeah. Sending messages, man. This is real stuff.
Yeah. A film that we could cover here, in fact.
Yeah, yeah.
It could be a future show, to talk about stuff like that. So, but yeah, I just wanted to say, hey, we did this. We got it on out of there. And thank you for everybody that came out. The Cash App donations, the contributions for those who had something to say, and for those who are electing to try and go and find this film so they can, and listen, it's not a bad spend. Okay, if you got to shell out a couple of dollars to get this movie, it's a good investment. Absolutely. You will be better as a result of finding this experience, as opposed to have not been introduced to it.
Yeah.
So for my man Drew Titan, this is Stormybman. We're gonna sign off. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. Drew, just hold fast for one moment before you go. I just want to say a couple things. Okay. But I appreciate everybody that came out, and we'll catch you guys next week for another Nerds on Culture. Peace to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week.